Utah Jazz win streak against the best of the NBA comes to a close as Durant and Beal are just too much for Utah, both crossing 30, and the Jazz lose in Phoenix. We're talking about it on trade deadline day next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone with you here as the Utah Jazz fall to the Phoenix Suns by the final score of 129-115. The Suns offense was really brilliant all game. You could probably criticize some Jazz defense that at times was too easy, but overall, I mean, Scott Morrison kind of said it at halftime to us when, he said, the minute Kevin Durant jumps on the floor, it's tilted toward Durant. You got to deal with him, and it just creates opportunities for everybody.
For everyone else. And Durant is so good off the dribble when he has the ball in his hands, gets where he wants to go out there on the floor. And that just creates so much help defense that the Jazz have to have in order to try to stop him. Grayson Allen comes up being the beneficiary of a lot of assists tonight. What he ended up with 14 assists. And a lot of that is because of just what you would call sometimes a hockey assist to him, and then he finds the open man.
People are telling me we do not have a camera right now. I do not know why that would be the case, but we'll see if I can get the camera to come up. They want to see Ron's coffee-stained shirt.
It's dried up now.
Has it dried up? Okay. So I apologize. I have no idea why the camera, unless it's still on the halftime Zoom, but I don't see that anywhere. So I'm trying to find that. If I can figure out why there's no camera, I will fix it. But as of right now, it's on now. All right. No idea why that happened, but thank you very much. And the screamer has left, but she sits right there. If you follow me at DLock09 on Instagram, I put a picture up of her, so you can just have that. All right.
She talks the whole game.
Yeah.
Every play.
And I couldn't understand any of it.
You were talking about Durant.
Yeah, thank you.
He gets to spots on the floor. I mean, just think about his game. Drives to the basket, doesn't do it a lot. Probably prefers to get to his spots in the mid-range, but deadly from the three-point line. He's 35 years old.
Yeah, coming off an Achilles tendon.
Right.
He and Beal really complement each other beautifully. What's interesting is coming in the game, Durant and Beal together on the floor without Booker had been really bad this year. But they complement each other very well tonight. Bradley Beal then took over the game in the other portions with 30. So in the sense of the Jazz goal was to make those two uncomfortable, they did not do that.
No, hard to do it, I think. And then the Jazz, without the normal starting lineup, the zone, I thought, killed them in the first quarter. I thought the Phoenix Suns was definitely ready, prepared for it. Nurkic was catching the basketball in the middle of the lane. And then that swing pass. I mean, they were getting so many good shots. And I think in that first quarter, 5 for 8 from the three-point line. They just have put together a very good shooting team.
Well, they're 14 and 29 from three. There was one play that jumped out to me. Durant's in the post. You got to double him. Or at least, I don't know if you have to. He's actually not a great post-up player, but we doubled him. He kicks it out. They rotate Grayson Allen, and then they rotate to Eric Gordon. I mean, that's 40% three-point shooters. You're kind of darned if you do and darned if you don't at that point. Jazz had to have a new rotation. 31 minutes tonight from Taylor Hendricks and Talen Horton-Tucker. The two combined to go 2 of 11 offensively, 1 of 4 from 3. 8 rebounds for Taylor Hendricks, 3 points. Talen Horton-Tucker had 7 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He went to the line 9 times. That's 31 new minutes, plus the Jazz just played 9 guys instead of 10. I'm not sure there's really anybody coming in these trades who's going to be a player that takes it. So this is kind of the new rotation of the Jazz, and I think we're going to see Taylor Hendricks for 20 minutes a night. What did you see out of Taylor tonight? We're going to probably do this nightly as we look at him, and what do you want to see out of him?
Well, watching his progress, I think is going to be the key watching for the rest of the season. First and foremost, understanding the game, understanding the spacing that the Jazz want out there on the floor to be able to operate. I mean, to run the offense that they like to run. And then I think more so than the offense is being able to understand the defensives and work at becoming a good position defensive player.
Felt like everything was super fast from tonight. And so, I mean, the way I would say it is I hope that things slow down from a little bit, even just like when we bought the fake and just traveled and just some of those kind of things. It just feels like he's trying to play super fast because the NBA game's that fast. And he's, we've watched Colin Sexton this year learning how to slow himself down. And that's going to be one of the things that you hope he maybe learns a little bit. He doesn't have the same game at all, but just in general, like you're athletic enough. That's actually going to be, I think, the thing that's most interesting is he's so athletic. You can see it. Like, he goes up for a rebound. He's above everybody else. He can run. He doesn't actually have to worry about the speed. That's actually what God gave him, is he can actually handle that. He's got to worry about how to play the game.
And that's first thing he needs to do. And then over the summer, David, he works on his individual stuff. And I think next year he should be a much better player. Will he be a great to the point where he's starting and putting up tremendous amount of numbers? But you'll see a much improved player, I think, next year, if he takes that route and really takes the summer seriously.
John Collins and Walker Kessler started together tonight, so they're back to trying that, which didn't work great the first time through. We'll see if it's better this time with Colin Sexton and Chris Dunn out on the floor. Really, we're 7 guys heavy right now, and I think that's going to be, Keontae is going to pick up the Ochai Agbaji minutes. It's clear. So Keontae is going to be up over 30 minutes a night now. But this team now is 7 guys deep with Hendricks and Horton Tucker taking 8 and 9. It's a very, very different team than what they've seen before. And Fontecchio added a defensive element into shooting, and Kelly added a fulcrum for the offense. So Will Hardy talks about trying to build a 48-minute, lineup. He's got to rebuild the entire second unit to figure out how it's going to work, because of the fact that is that Kelly really was the fulcrum that ran that offense and allowed Jordan and Keontae to play off that.
You just touched on something very, very important. And I remember Will talking about the 48 minutes of basketball that the Jazz will need going forward because of the different lineups and everything that he has to put out there on the floor. He's got to rebuild something that he had built here to get to the Jazz where they were 500 going into tonight's game. How difficult is that going to be? You have to wait and see. Probably hard. So
the Jazz fall tonight to Phoenix, who's really playing well. They've won 12 of their last 15 now. From a trade standpoint, just on the trade thing, the one thing that is worth talking to the Jazz, or not one thing, but one thing that's worth noting. So in the last 2 trade deadlines, there have been 6 first-round draft picks traded for non-all-NBA players. So Kevin Durant got 4, Pascal Siakam got 3. But otherwise, there's only been 6 in the last 2 trade deadlines. The Jazz have gotten 2 of the 6. With the Mike Conley, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt deal, and with the Kelly Olynyk, Ochai Agbaji deal, the Jazz have now gotten 2 of the 6 first-round picks that were traded. That's pretty impressive work by Justin Zanuck. And then they turned Simone Fontecchio into what's probably going to be the 2nd or 3rd pick of the second round. From a fan standpoint, by the way, the draft is now 2 days. So you'll have one of the last picks of the first round and one of the first picks of the second round. You'll be the focus there a little bit. We'll see whether the Jazz keep their first-round pick or not. If the Jazz finish in the bottom 10, they keep their first-round pick. But, when you go to the deadline, it's hard to lose guys like Fontecchio, Olynyk, and Agbaji. They're just super men. But from a standpoint, you're building with an eye toward the future, and you're trying to increase your assets. And the Jazz decided that the late first-round draft pick that they could get from Toronto was a better asset in the future than where they feel Ochai Agbaji was heading, and they thought that was a better asset than probably Simone Fontecchio, who they were going to lose in restricted free agency. Yeah, you're looking at Kelly Olynyk, who's built a lot of friends around the league. He's played on a few teams. Really thought that he liked this system, the way he was playing here. But now, late in his career, he gets to go back home to Canada and play for a team that he probably grew up watching and mom worked for him and that type of thing. So I'm not really sure, and I'm not speaking for him, but he's got to be okay with the move. Need experience, if nothing else. Captain Canada, Kelly Olynyk getting to go back home. For Ochai, it's got to be a little bit of a shaker, though it's closer to Milwaukee, where his family grew up. He grew up in Kansas City, but his parents from Milwaukee. And Ochai is just really one of the great young men I've ever dealt with in this league. So is Kelly. So really thankful to them for their time with us, because they're just great people. And best of luck. And Simone's world's got to be rocked a little bit. It took him a year and a half to kind of get comfortable, and now he's got to find a new place. So best thoughts to all of them. We'll see how those play out over time, obviously, but the Jazz front office feeling that the asset accumulation of what they were able to get there put them in a position to have those chips to be able to use for the future was the best move for all those players, and that's where we are. Jazz fall tonight, 129-115. John Collins, 21 points, 14 rebounds. That's got to be one of your stars.
I like Walter Kessler tonight.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What did you like about
You say
Walker
when
Kessler?
You say that's interesting, that means that
I had not thought of it.
Yeah, that you don't necessarily agree with.
No, it just means I hadn't thought of it, and I was going with no. If I disagree, I usually do something stupid like saying no first, which is the number one personality characteristic I'm trying to get rid of. So elaborate on that.
Well, he got 27 minutes tonight, and I just thought I saw more improvement out of him tonight than we've seen in quite some time. Oh. Not so much that he blocked 4 shots, obviously. I mean, that's very good in protecting the rim. But I just think that you notice that when they were dropping, he catches the basketball, immediately he goes set a screen or a dribble handoff or something like that to keep things moving. I just like his improvement with the 27 minutes tonight.
Okay, so 1 star is Walker Kessler. John Collins played 30 minutes, was minus 20 tonight. He might have played a lot with Taylor Hendricks, who was minus 13. So that might be a Taylor Hendricks problem, not a John Collins problem. Does John Collins get a star, 21 points, 14 rebounds, despite a minus 20, or is a minus 20 prohibitive to a star?
That is so difficult. That's why it's so hard when you lose, that you don't see that quarter where one player
nobody did
made such a big difference in what happened, even though the Jazz had a pretty good third quarter, but still was outscored, ended up being outscored by 10. It's hard. So what do you think?
You go Chris Dunn, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a minus 3 on the plus minus. He hit 2 of 3 from 3.
I think he could be one of the
had to guard Kevin Durant,
the safe ones that you could pick because his numbers are usually pretty good, and he's just a solid.
Let's do that. Player. He had to guard Durant. The fact he battled, the toughness, and actually there was one play tonight where there was a loose ball thrown up in the air, and everybody on the floor waited for it except for Chris Dunn, who went and got it, and that's worthy of a star.
Yeah. Okay.
Walker Kessler and Chris Dunn are your stars. Lacey put it on the board. Lacey gave an update on the stars on the 3 guys that were traded tonight as well on that. All right, Jazz lose to the Phoenix Suns on a trade deadline day. It will be a little weird. It was a little weird getting on the plane without Simone. It's going to be a little stranger getting on the plane just now without any of those guys. There's going to be some empty seats on the plane as we fly back. We'll see you Monday against Golden State. Thanks very much. Make sure you check out Jazz Plus for all the great content there. Right now, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 national streaming channel, sports streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. Check it out on Amazon Fire as well.